I'd like to share wisdom on happiness from various sages who shall remain specifically unattributed, but whose names will appear on the slide. Happiness is not a goal. It's a product of a life well lived. True happiness comes from the joy of deeds well done, the zest of creating things new. Time you enjoy wasting is not wasted time. Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. Happiness in intelligent people is the rarest thing I know. Happiness is having a large, loving, caring, close-knit family in another city. Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions. Folks are usually about as happy as they make their minds up to be. Sanity and happiness are an impossible combination. The meaning of things lies not in the things themselves, but in our attitude towards them. The key to happiness is finding pleasure and purpose in everyday life. Happiness is a warm puppy. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. You'll never be happy if you continue to search for what happiness consists of. You will never live if you're looking for the meaning of life. The best way to cheer yourself is to try to cheer someone else up. One of the keys to happiness is a bad memory. The key to being happier is to pay more attention to what makes you happy and less attention to what does not. Some cause happiness wherever they go. Others, whenever they go. And hand in hand, on the edge of the sand, they danced by the light of the moon. Years ago today, in 1977, I was staying with friends in the Bronx in New York City. I was on an 8-week hitchhiking trip from central Kansas to as far as Bar Harbor, Maine and back. I recall this fondly as one of the best trips of my life. The journal I kept on my trip allows me to remember the awesomeness of the journey. Is the secret to happiness pleasant memories? Yes and no. Pleasant memories are only one facet of happiness. How can I assume happiness? How can I assure happiness now? Let's take an intense look together at happiness. I apologize in advance for the dearth of jokes herein, but happiness is serious business. Today, I will reveal 4 formulas to increase happiness. The first one is not very practical, but it's very sciencey and mathematical and stuff. The other 2 work, but progress toward the 4th one, which is probably the most effective overall. Before we get to the formulas, we need to agree on what happiness is. Let's assume happiness is a state of well-being or contentment, a pleasurable or satisfying experience, or a positive reward for an action. Happiness is certainly a feeling, a fleeting experience-based feeling, but it can also be a habitual state of mind. You can learn to be happy more often, but you can't demand happiness. Finding happiness takes a more oblique than direct approach. So let's look at happiness formula number 1. Use math. There are 2 parts to the math formula. The first is promoted by blogger Tim Urban. Happiness equals one back, please. Happiness equals reality minus expectations. When we compare our actual selves and situations with expectations, the difference elicits happiness or disappointment. Now, a further mathematical exploration of happiness by researchers at University College London clearly shows that when our expectations are lower than actual reality, we have discrete moments of intense happiness that gradually fade away. Aren't you glad you can now express this mathematically? Okay, interesting but not very useful. Happiness formula number 2 has a bit more practicality. It is unapologetic hedonism. Live for pleasure. It's all about fun, fun, fun. Unapologetic hedonists gravitate toward whatever gives them the most satisfaction and fun and thrills and delights, no matter how others may be affected. It's not about others, it's all about me. It is pure selfishness and drive for pleasure. It is good things, wine, pleasant company, song, dance, fun, and laughter, to the exclusion of all else. And it works! If you're able to avoid thinking about anyone else and arrange your life so no negatives affect you, you will be happy. Stimulation without guilt, blissful ignorance of the ills of the world, lack of fear of the judgment of others, and a don't worry, be happy attitude promote feelings of well-being. Keep those up forever, and you'll be happy forever. The problem with this approach is twofold. Firstly, it's shallow and difficult to maintain when circumstances turn sour. Adherents must be ever oblivious to any pain they cause. Sometimes we're forced to reckon with the pain our self-indulgent actions cause others. Then, in order to maintain our happiness, we must be callous and uncaring about that pain. If we're unable to block out awareness of that pain, our happiness suffers. The second problem is one of adaptation. We get used to things. Newness is exciting. We crave novelty. But over time, happiness wears off. The first bite of chocolate is substantially better than the final one. Falling in love is much more thrilling at the beginning than is living with someone after years. The thrill is gone, sang B.B. King, understanding that time tarnishes love if that love is not continually renewed. And happiness about any unchanging thing eventually turns to boredom. In order to maintain happiness with the unapologetic hedonism formula, we must constantly block out unpleasantness as well as escalate fun with enough variety to avoid boredom. And that's actually not as easy as it may sound. Happiness formula number 3 takes a different approach. It is a purpose-driven model, meaningful service. Most of us have already realized unapologetic hedonism, while great fun for short periods, is not sustainable long-term. There are too many things we have to do that just aren't that much fun. The meaningful service formula looks past the immediate, enduring short-term pain in favor of long-term reward, like having a job or working out at the gym or doing physical yard work. Even though exercise or work may not be as much fun as a comedy show, the rewards still bring happiness through meaningful action. Parents are often self-sacrificial for their children. If you're a parent, you've had to change your plans suddenly or make frantic trips to the store before school in the morning for some, oh, by the way, Mom, emergency for your child's benefit. Parents or not, you've likely volunteered time, money, and effort for a cause you care about that will directly benefit someone else. A church, a food bank, a charity, a political candidate. Why do you do it? Because it brings a measure of great satisfaction and happiness unrelated to unapologetic hedonism. Mark Twain noticed the best way to cheer yourself is to try to cheer someone else up. It's called Enlightened Self-Interest. We get by giving. French writer Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, if I said that right, said, when you give yourself, you receive more than you give. Some things we do can give us both pleasure and meaning. Volunteering with others, for instance, increases our pleasure. We're social creatures. Doing things for others, with others, feels great. Donating to a charity, especially if we know exactly how that money will be used, creates satisfaction when we share. The fourth and final formula for happiness has 3 parts: balance, focus, and design. We need to balance pleasure with meaningful service, focus on the good stuff, and design our lives to assure increased happiness as a habit. Balance first. Sometimes what we need to feel happy is a cute cat video or a dance party or a belly laugh. Sometimes what we need is the satisfaction that we're providing for needs in a meaningful way. Overall, however, a balance between the two is ideal. Paul Dolan, author of Happiness by Design, calls this the PPP, or Pleasure Purpose Principle. Your specific ratio of pleasure to purpose will be individually customized. But optimal happiness results from some dynamic, agreeable balance between the two. Proportions change with circumstance, but intending your life to have a balance of pleasure and purpose and working to maintain that balance will bring you your best measure of happiness. Now, focus. As humans, we have a limited amount of attention available. How do we allocate it? Paul Dolan again. The key to being happier is to pay more attention to what makes you happy and less attention to what does not. That's so simple, so obvious. If you forget everything else I say today, remember that. It's so powerful, it bears repeating. The key to being happier is to pay more attention to what makes you happy and less attention to what does not. But often we don't do that. Why not? It seems humans have evolved to notice bad things much more easily than good ones. Rick Hansen, author of Hardwiring Happiness, calls this tendency Teflon for the positive and Velcro for the negative. When humans lived in survival mode, remembering good things didn't count for as much as noticing the things that could eat you. We survived with that awareness and passed it on. In her book, The Sweet Spot, Christine Carter notes that research has discovered that a ratio of approximately 3 good emotions for every bad one is necessary to emotionally flourish. Flourishing correlates positively with traits such as happiness, resilience, creativity, and positive relations with others. So focus on the things you find do make you happy. Turn your attention to right now. You don't have to sit cross-legged and say Om to focus on the present. To paraphrase Lee Lipsendal's book title, savor every bite. I've recently been getting a great amount of pleasure from eating my curried vegetables and rice slowly, enjoying the differences in flavor and texture between the water chestnuts, the broccoli, the rice, the Chinese curry. On my recently instituted midnight walks, I've been reveling in the sounds of katydids, crickets, and frogs. Focus on the bite in your mouth, the sound in your ear, good things, funny things, pleasant things. If you're currently not getting much actual reward, imagine a happy future because of your actions right now. Pay more attention to what makes you happy. One caveat: not everything in life is good or happy or easy or fun. Focusing on the happy does not mean denying the sad, ignoring pain, or pretending it's all good. It's not all good. 70 years ago today, Nagasaki was devastated by the second nuclear bomb on Japan in 3 days. 1 year ago today, Michael Brown was shot dead in Ferguson, Missouri. Many things in our world need to be put right with the energy derived from anger about injustice, greed, and suffering. But as you can, juggle thinking about these things with enough gratification to keep your 3-to-1 balance of happy to sad emotions. Clean off your cluttered Velcro. Cook on your Teflon with positive emotions. The third part of balance, focus, and design may be the most important of all, because without intentionally designing your life to favor happiness, the Velcro may win by default. Design happiness using techniques to develop habits, then plugging in specifics. In order to ensure you're happy, plan to make it easy not to have to think about it. When you make what you want to do a habit, most of the work to reliably recreate it disappears. Conscious decisions require more work than habits. Habits and routines automatically guide you through a direction without having to consciously think about it. Habits get triggered by events such as hitting lunchtime or getting home from work. For instance, getting home from work might currently trigger you to kick off your shoes and veg on the couch. But you'd really rather do something more meaningful, like play with your child. Train yourself. Consider this at least. Consider training yourself to do a very small task in the direction of the way you want to go. Maybe a start would be to turn right toward the child's room when you step inside, rather than left toward the living room. A small step in the right direction, a nudge into a better, happier habit. Jonathan Haidt, in The Happiness Hypothesis, used the elephant and the rider metaphor. Your subconscious is the irrational elephant, pretty much does what is easiest and has done before. Your conscious mind is the rational writer, but it's quite ineffective in forcing the elephant to do anything. Instead, you must gently persuade the elephant that it doesn't mind doing what you want, generally something different from before. Another elephant metaphor comes to mind. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Small chunks, not large hunks. Nudges, not shoves. That's the technique. So what are your specifics, the things you want to do to improve your happiness? Say you want to ensure better dental health by flossing daily, but you've been completely unable to maintain a regular flossing schedule. The one bite at a time, gentle nudge technique might mean you tell yourself, I will floss one tooth today. Then stick to it. No guilt if it's only one. If you feel like flossing two, fine. Or all of them, even better. But just nudge your elephant toward a flossing habit, and your success rate will rise one tooth at a time. Happiness habits ensure you're focusing on happiness actions without even having to think about it. Please remember, should you commit to learning new habits, you are human. Embrace your human imperfection. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Accept this. You'll be happier if you're not beating yourself up for imperfections. Trust me on this. So, those are the formulas. Use math, unapologetic hedonism, meaningful service, balance, focus, and design. Before I finish, I'm going to lay out a buffet of specific happiness actions that often work for people. If you like, commit to one of these to make your life happier. Or two if you choose. But don't overload yourself. You're a wonderful, fallible human being after all, and you can't do everything at once. Enjoy the moment. Notice little things you find delightful. When you find yourself caught in the Velcro of negativity, take a breath. Look, listen, smell, feel something good in that moment. Smile. If you convince your mouth muscles to smile, your brain at least momentarily gets tricked into thinking you're happy. If you smile with your eyes too, it works even more strongly. To maintain that feeling, support it with real reasons to be happy, and smile at someone else. They often will return the smile, making you feel happier. Laugh. Tell a joke, read a funny story, watch a humorous video, or even the whole movie. Do things with people. Studies show that pleasant interaction with other humans usually improves your mood and theirs, a twofer. Practice gratitude. Focus on the things that are right with your life instead of the things that aren't. Perhaps keep a gratitude journal so you can document and reread positive thoughts. Absorb something inspirational. The beauty of nature, heartwarming stories, words of wisdom that bring you comfort, imagining future delights. Enjoy babies laughing or penguins being tickled on YouTube. Think about death at least 5 minutes every day. Then you will better appreciate your life and its brevity. And one of my favorite specifics, hug someone. Physical touch is one of the surest ways to communicate goodwill, love, and acceptance to humans or pets, and happiness comes along. encourage you to choose and use a happiness formula you like. Modify it in whatever way makes you happy. Remember, the key to happiness is finding pleasure and purpose in everyday life. Accept your human imperfections, savor your every bite, smile, and dance by the light of the moon. And remember what Eleanor Roosevelt said, happiness is not a goal, it's a product of a life well lived. Live well. Be happy.